This is Dragon's Lair for the Game Boy Color. If you're a fan of Dragon's Lair and of handheld consoles like I am, you'll definitely want to check out this port of the arcade game. For me, it's one of the wonders of the world that they were able to fit nearly the entire arcade experience on this very early on-the-go handheld. It plays just like the arcade game, and the graphics and sound are fantastic, and the gameplay is spot on. After the duds of games that were Dragon's Lair on the NES and Dragon's Lair on the SNES, the Game Boy Color brought the heat as the first real port that you could take on the go. Don Bluth's animation is converted to pixels and has tons of charm in this brilliant Game Boy Color release. The game was released in 2001 and really is a true testament of the power of the Game Boy Color and of the creativity of the programmers. So let's take a look at Dragon's Lair for the Game Boy Color on today's side quest. Manned by Digital Eclipse and Capcom, Dragon's Lair on the Game Boy Color was a surprising step forward for the arcade game. Home consoles like the Sega CD and 3DO already housed faithful ports of the classic, but what makes the Game Boy Color's effort so impressive is that it exists. Not only is this on a handheld, but at the time where handheld consoles were still not far behind 8-bit capabilities, yet they did it. What's on the Game Boy Color is a fully functional recreation of the Laserdisc experience. This isn't a platformer based on Dragon's Lair, this is Dragon's Lair, in the palm of your hand no less. Imagining in 1983, while being mesmerized at Dragon's Lair Arcade, that it could one day be played on a portable system was about as futuristic and unfathomable as the thought of riding in flying cars or hoverboards. So if you're familiar with the 1983 hit, you know exactly what to expect from this offering. Since this was a direct port, you once again play as the hero Dirk the Daring to rescue Princess Daphne from the evil clutches of the dragon Singe. The developers did an excellent job translating Don Bluth's animation to a mere Game Boy Color screen, making for some of the best graphics ever to grace the system. It's obviously very compressed relative to home console ports, but it nevertheless manages to flow just like its inspiration. In fact, where the Sega CD's downscaled screen looks a bit too blurry and pixelated for my taste, the recreated pixel artwork has tons of charm. Timing and knowing what button to press are keys to success as you traverse the castle to rescue Princess Daphne. All the traps are here, the bridge that collapses at the beginning, the colorful spears, the sea of skeleton heads that chase after you, and the list goes on and on. It's all here and accounted for, as well as the familiar enemies are very much intact, like the Giddy Goons, the Lizard King, the Crypt Creeps, and the Smithy. The game even randomizes the order the events go in, just like the arcade original. However, some scenes and death animations are a bit shortened from the original version, but it's an acceptable sacrifice. The only big hurdle to jump over is that it does get very demanding when it comes to button presses. It expects you to react quickly, much like the original. If you're just a bit off or late, you will lose a life. Lose 4 or more of those and it's over. This one's more for the seasoned Dragon's Lair player out there. There is a way to enable a display for what buttons the game wants you to press through the game's inbuilt tutorial system. However, the tutorial is limited and only walks you through a portion of the game. Still, with enough patience and stamina, it's more than possible to memorize the patterns and how the game throws them at you. Once you manage to do that, you're golden. From here on, Dragon's Lair would be further ported to devices like the Nintendo DS family, PlayStation Portable, and smartphones, in all its full color, full audio 1983 glory. And many of these are frame by frame, perfect ports, and look and play great. While the Game Boy Color version is obviously primitive in comparison to these, it still deserves plenty of credit for starting this line of faithful ports of the game on handheld consoles. It even does an amazing job at demonstrating the power it has over the original monochrome Game Boy, a rarity for third parties on a Nintendo system. It's as impressive as it is a relic of its era. To that I say well done to Digital Eclipse and Capcom for doing the game justice. It was a mind blower back then when it was initially released, and it's still mighty impressive when looking back on it. Hey, thanks for checking out this video all about Dragon's Lair for the Game Boy Color. Definitely pick this one up. It honestly has some of the best graphics on the system, and it's tons of fun if you're into these kind of full motion video games. I actually prefer playing this version to even the Sega CD release of Dragon's Lair, which I also own. The game turned out so good, in fact, I can't believe and wish they would have given Dragon's Lair 2 and Space Ace the same treatment. However, I'm sure sales didn't warrant it. Anyway, let me know in the comments if you've ever played this port and what you think about it, or what you think about any Dragon's Lair games for that matter, and I'll catch you in my next video.